Welcome to a special episode of Second Look Sports Show. As always, I am your host, Alex Mandarino. We got Brandon Brown. We got Justin Arnberg. This episode has no number. It has no title. It will literally have a title, but we're going to be talking about Canada, US, Four Nations Championship. Some of us have some raspy voices. We've talked a little bit about just like our feelings. I think there's a lot of racing hearts. There's a lot of excitement right now. I just came from the bar, so I'm still racing. There's been so much yelling and stuff going on, but Canada did come out with the victory in overtime 3-2. Who else but Connor McDavid to score the winner? It's like the passing of the torch. The golden goal, Sidney Crosby, Four Nations Championship, McDavid on one knee from who else but Mitch Marner with 2 assists. I don't even know. My brain's all over the place here, guys. Obviously, a really exciting night, a really great game all around. I think that's really all everybody expected coming out of TD Gardens. What
Do you want to
got,
make this?
Justin?
Do you want to make this Leafs centric right away?
I really don't. I never really intended to, but if you want to, I
How
can
about
entertain what you have to say.
how about that terrible, terrible defensive position by Austin Matthews?
Dude, he had a tough tournament all around. I'm going to be honest with you.
You
He
know
got
what? He played really well up until that point, like you said, Justin. I think offensively, he had the 2 assists. He was very involved offensively, more so than he's been the whole tournament.
oh
But I
yeah,
think that
he
that play,
lost. He got lost.
yeah,
He got lost.
he's gonna have to wear that
Yeah,
one.
he's going to
Like
have to wear that one.
Jack Hughes was supposed to be against Marner, and Austin Matthews was supposed to be locked up in the center with Connor McDavid, and he got lost. Like
Yeah,
crazy.
no, for sure.
But yeah. Anyway, let's
Where,
not talk
well,
about Leafs.
I mean, where do you want to start here, though, guys? Because
Buddy,
I mean, I have an
let's
idea of
just
where I
start
want to
with
go,
let's just start
but
with we're Canadian. Let's be proud for 1 minute. Let's be proud. Let's be bleeping proud. Guys, I called Brandon today and I said they're gonna win 4-2 or 5-2 with 2 empty net goals. And I said it's really gonna be 3-2. And I said, and Brandon can quote me, they will be trailing 2-1 and they will come back. And that is what happened tonight.
No, you're
I'm
you're you're 100% right, Justin. Yeah, you did say that.
I am beyond proud of that team. I'm not going to make this political, but that was bigger than hockey. That was a bigger game than just a hockey game. That was for the pride and everything to do with our country. And they went in there into the enemy nation, into Boston, and tore the roof down.
Mhm.
They honestly, to me, there was momentum swings for sure, but and the stats prove this. They outplayed the Americans tonight. Like they really took it to them. And there was some big momentum swings for the Americans for sure. But yeah, I'm like this is for me like Crosby winning or Crosby scoring the golden goal. I was 9 years old. Like I don't know if this tops that, but just like how much hype there was today around this game, I couldn't be prouder to be a Canadian at this moment. That's
Mhm.
just the way I feel.
Yeah. No, you're right, Justin. I mean, we both had, I think, today in our conversation, we both had parts of this game correct. You had the 2-1 US lead, and I think I had the right score. I knew what 3-2 was in my head, but I said it's probably, hopefully it's going to be in regulation.
Yeah.
Um, and that third period, was back and forth. It was going to be 3-2 no matter what. It was just going to be in regulation, in overtime, US, Canada, nobody knew, but um, I can't even speak about it. It was just a fantastic game. And I think you're right. It transcends hockey for sure. And I know we went back and forth about 2010, this game. You brought up the Summit Series as well. Like it's a game that will certainly live forever. And whether it's the biggest, one of the biggest,
Yeah.
it was an incredible atmosphere. Everything about it was just huge.
Yeah, I'm still soaking it in what we just watched. That guaranteed hands down the fastest game I've ever watched in my entire life. Like there
It
is
definitely
not even a
it definitely
question.
it definitely like took on a different sort of a different like play style than we saw last Saturday, because last Saturday it was immediately violent. It was like, let's
Mm-hmm.
throw hands. It was a lot more physical early on. The first 20 minutes of Saturday was everyone throw as many hits as possible. Whereas today you saw a bit of physicality, but it was way more like, I mean, I don't know if the ice was like a certain way or if the players were jittery, but the puck was bouncing everywhere for the
Yeah.
first 20
Yeah.
minutes. And it sort of continued into the rest of the game. But you could tell there was a bit of a like gripping the sticks too tight, not a lot of physical play until, I mean, I feel like Brady Kachuk had the
Oh,
exact same hit
Brady.
on Drew
Yeah.
Doughty.
Yeah.
Like, and so just a lot of storylines, but a lot more finesse, Justin, like you said, a lot more fast paced, but
Yeah.
an unbelievable game, which is, I think,
Yeah.
after the Super Bowl, especially, like, not related, but you watch the Super Bowl, very one sided. You want to have this kind of back and forth game, and this is exactly what happened. They delivered 100%.
Like American, like as sad as what this is to say, hockey grew so much in this last week. It's gonna kill a little bit of the growth with America not winning tonight. Maybe that's just my personal thought immediately after this game. But I'm so glad that everyone that wasn't a hockey fan tonight that tuned in to watch this game saw arguably one of the greatest games of all time,
Great game.
because that's what this
Yeah.
was. Like you cannot go as a hockey fan and go, or just as someone new to this game and look at this and say, this was a blowout. It wasn't fun. It wasn't interesting. No, this gave you literally everything you could ask for a new hockey person. And this was in like, yeah, like when you think about this, this arguably has to be one of the greatest games ever played. Like it has some of the biggest names ever to go down in this sport. It has probably the greatest American roster ever assembled, like ever assembled.
Yeah.
It has the best goalie in the NHL in Connor Hellebuck. It has Austin Matthews.
You mean Jordan Biddington?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. You're
seriously. We'll
right.
we'll
You're
get to
right.
him.
We're
We'll have
gonna
to
get
give
to
him
him.
his flowers.
But man, oh man, like you know what I mean? Like just you couldn't ask for a better game of hockey to represent the NHL.
Hmm.
No, you're 100% right, Justin. I think the NHL and Gary Bettman and the entire league in general, I think this tournament has brought them, probably more notoriety and
Oh yeah.
eyes on the game than
Yeah.
they even expected. I think going
More
into it,
than
it
their
was
wildest dreams. More
yeah,
than
it
their
was more of a
wildest dreams.
everyone to start this tournament was like, are they gonna be like trying? Is it gonna be exhibition style? Is it all star style? No, these players came in with a goal in mind to obviously play for their countries and go and play as hard as they can for fans and for flags, obviously, as it came out later. But it was just a breath of fresh air, I think, for the style that you see in a league sanctioned event. You never a lot of comparison with
Yeah.
the NBA. You can look at the NFL. No, there's been no league that's been able to create this type of exhibition excitement, I would say, over and I think other leagues will look to this type of format in
Oh
the
yeah.
future to see if they can recreate it.
I think so as well.
I'm
Because
go.
yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead,
No,
Justin.
I was
Go.
just
Go
gonna
ahead.
say I Brandon hit it right on the head there. You know, I think every other league is looking at, I guarantee you every other commissioner watched tonight's game and saw the energy in the building, saw everything, and they're trying to think about how can we do this in our league instead of these all-star games.
And I agree fully. And I had a conversations with my friends at the bar about this in one of the intermissions. Like, is it even possible to create something like this in the other the other three North American leagues? Because soccer has something surrounding this in the World Cup. Although it would be really difficult to sort of condense soccer or football into four nations. And I know Russia isn't included, and that's a different conversation for a different day. But like, you have the World Baseball Classic. Yes, you have the NFL is very Americanized, and then you have basketball, which would they be able to do like a world versus USA? Maybe, but like the animosity, the amount of like anxiety that was created, the amount of intensity and the representation of countries. I really don't know if any other sport would have the ability to actually put on a tournament like this with all these different nations and the ability to create these games and this energy like the NHL was able to. And what's funny about that, and we can have that conversation of if other leagues could do this, but like teams have to then now go play like game 56 on Saturday in
Yeah,
the
how do you get up
NHL.
for it? How do you get up for
What are
it?
you supposed to do there? Right? Like oh
How do
yeah,
you
now we're gonna play Carolina on a Saturday night. This game means nothing. Where it obviously does, but it's just it is very strange to be interested to see how the NHL gets back into its regular season in a brutal February. But that's for
man.
that's not really the
That's for
main concern
Saturday's
here.
problem. That's for
That's a
Saturday's
Saturday's
problem.
problem. We'll relish in this game, but I'm curious if you guys think that other leagues would be able to actually create something like this, or if the NHL just found lightning in a bottle here.
I the one league I think could do it would be the NBA. We saw it at the Olympics this year for basketball. The US may have won, but a lot of the games were a lot closer than what they would have hoped or what they thought it would have been. I think every other country in terms of basketball has come a long way. And I really think that the NBA could make a World Cup of basketball. Like I know that there is one in FIBA that happens in the
Mhm.
summer, but if you want to take out and even take out the friggin' stupid in-season tournament and just do a World Cup of basketball for 2 weeks, like that is a solution. Just like the Four Nations.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And Alex, you mentioned it already. The World Baseball Classic, I think, is something that while it represents a similar idea, I think it's played typically before the
Yeah.
season starts in the
Yeah.
MLB. So I think it's within the kind of confines of the season, even though it's not technically in the middle like this tournament was. I think it's just missing that rivalry aspect. We saw the USA versus was it Japan, I guess, with
Hmm.
Shohei and Mike Trout in that final, standoff there, and that was fantastic. So if we see that over a longer period of time, they get to keep going head to head, and that starts a real rivalry. That maybe you'll see those two countries start to get a little bit more involved. Obviously, the proximity and geography makes a big difference when you're talking about USA and Canada. So. Um, and obviously I would know when talked about the NFL. NFL can't really do anything at this
Yeah.
point with any type of exhibition games.
But
It's
they
too
dominate, so it doesn't like
they
I
don't
don't
really
think.
need the exposure. It's true. It's probably too dangerous at this point to put on any type of additional
Yeah.
exhibition games. So yeah, hockey's gonna rule as long as they can continue to pick up momentum from this type of tournament. You guys are right about the NHL schedule now. It might hit a bit of a lull now that people have kind of, found their excitement, and now it's going to be like kind of feeling like going back. But I'm sure the players will be excited, especially the ones that haven't been involved in these tournaments, which is, the large majority of the players in the league. So you're going to have a lot of guys juiced up to have their players back on their professional teams, and I think you'll see as we get closer to the playoffs, there's going to be some great races, and maybe the excitement will continue if you get a lot of fans who aren't, used to watching the game. Will stick
Yeah.
around and try to see some of these, great playoff races down the line.
Hmm.
That's the hope, really, is to kind of
Yeah.
retain some of these. Well, especially like you watch NBA All Star Weekend, and there's the whole idea of like Canada versus US, I guess version one on the weekend, and taking so many fans away from watching Wembenyama throw balls in the air and sort of cheat the system. And like it was a tough weekend for the NBA, and hopefully the leagues can kind of recreate this. But it is great for the NHL, and hopefully they can continue the momentum. Man, I don't even like. There's so many
Well,
different
yeah,
ways we can take
let's
this.
just go into the game, man.
Let's
Like
go
it
into the
is.
game. I mean, I want to talk about the goaltending here. I
Well,
think
I
that's
just
a
want to know,
great place
did
to
you
start.
guys did like I felt probably the most nervous I felt about a game. Like in terms of
Yeah.
like in the overtime, like my heart was racing the most it's probably raced in 5 to 10 years. Um, was there like just like a sigh of relief, like when the goal happened? Like it was like also the fact that Vancouver's score was also 3-2 in overtime, and this was 3-2 in overtime.
Hmm.
And it's 87 scoring then to now 97, the passing of the torch. Just
Dude.
I like Canada wins today. Canada wins today. And my like there was just like a sigh of relief when 97 ripped it past Connor Hellebuck. I don't know about you guys.
No, I mean it was very nerve-wracking. I mean most of the game was kind of leaned forward, my hands or my elbows on my knees, just like kind of couldn't believe where we were and that the game was gonna fall down to, that moment in overtime. And it was just, yeah, like I think the most interesting part is I think it is the goaltending still. Like I do think that there were moments where I was incredibly, nervous and just not necessarily expecting, but just like could it like was almost anticipating an American goal at some point to kind of
Yeah.
end that
Yep.
feeling. But
Yep.
once Binnington made those two glove saves in overtime, it was
Oh,
like I don't
Dude.
think he's letting anything in. Like he's just this is gonna go down to the wire, and if Canada doesn't win it, we might be here all night because this guy is dialed in and he
oh, that guy
he
was
played
locked in.
fantastic. Yeah.
Like just completely locked in. Man, that after absolutely stopping a shot he had no business of stopping
Yeah.
with Matthews in front of the net.
Oh
Then
yeah.
he then Matthews gets another chance off the face-off, and when he absolutely robbed him on that, I was like, yeah,
Give
there's
me a
like
break.
nothing's
Yeah.
going in. Like this is he's dialed. Like, and I will say I did notice this the whole night. USA, it was a point of attention going into this game, I think. Get under his skin. You could see every single time they would crash the net, they were trying to get a shot in at him. They were trying to chirp him. Every time they would see him, they would, you know, say something to him. We don't know what they were saying. Obviously, it was a chirp, but, you know, that is the most calm, cool, and collected I've ever seen Jordan Binnington in an NHL or in a game. Like in a hockey game, like usually he will snap at some point. You could see the different mindset tonight. It wasn't like nothing got to him. Nothing.
I mean, imagine being a Boston Bruins fan and you lose in overtime. Sorry, not overtime. You lose in game 7 in 2019 against Jordan Bennington in TD Gardens. And then flash forward. I can't speak here, boys. Fast forward
Fast
six,
forward.
I guess what, 6 years later, under 6 years
Yeah,
later, and you
yep,
lose
6 years.
again as a US Boston Bruins fan. You watch Brad
Yeah.
Marchand on the Canadian team holding that gold medal, the trophy, whatever you want to call it. Binnington is clutch. I don't know if he's Canada, like he's the best goaltender in Canada, but he is the most clutch goaltender in
Yep.
Canada. And I think it's been proven multiple times. I think the best way to put it, when you look at Connor Hellebuck, for example, on the flip side, he makes goaltending look like we could all go out and do it. He sits in a rocking chair. He makes incredible saves. He's very calm, other than early in the first period where he was glaring down the referee when you saw
Yeah,
that in the
that
game.
was crazy. That
Why
was,
didn't you blow the whistle?
but also at the same time, you didn't have the puck.
No, no,
Like
no. It was like
he didn't have the puck at all.
exactly.
So
It's just great pad save, but he was just like, hey, blow the whistle. Whereas Bennington, the whole game, he made it look like it was the hardest. The goaltending is the
oh
hardest
yeah.
position in sports, which it should be considered. But when it's overtime, it's like he settles in and
Uh,
it's like
like
he just owns the position. And so, you know what? Like the biggest thing I can take away is with all the discourse for goaltending in Canada over this tournament and even beforehand. Listen, man, I said on this podcast, Aiden Hill should be playing. Aiden Hill should be playing.
I
Forget that because
I
he
s-
held his own.
I said Jordan Binnington from the get-go. I I believe that he was the best option out of the three. I didn't think he was, insanely good, but you might as well just name him the 2026 Olympic starter right now.
Yeah, I mean
You might as well.
that seems to make the most sense. I think I was not necessarily like I agree with you, Alex. I was also at least saying give Hill a chance at some point.
Mhm.
just because there had been some moments where Binnington had been a little bit shaky, but in the end, he did his job. He did exactly what they thought he could do, and he just it goes to show
I
that this group, when I say that the Hockey Canada leadership group, whatever you want, whoever was really involved in making those really tough decisions, they took a lot of heat for some of the choices that they made, but they in the end it all worked out, and they did exactly what they thought. I'm sure that they were gonna do, and it got just kudos to everybody. I can't say enough
big
about how
yeah.
much they endured and how easy it might have been to go out there and feel like you maybe weren't the better team. And regardless of what you think about the two rosters and who played and who didn't play, I think it's clear that Canada still is the top nation in the
Oh
world when
yeah.
it comes to hockey.
Oh yeah. It's like, listen, I said it's not gonna get political, but like, did you guys see Trudeau's tweet?
Yeah, of
You
course.
know what? I actually did not see Trudeau's tweet. I saw the other leaders tweet throughout the day. What do you got for me, Justin?
I'll pull it up exactly here. It's a shot and a half.
I love it.
But
I
like,
love
it's
it.
also like, like, I'm not gonna like say like that, like, I've always agree with any politician, but, um, when you tweet out right after that, you don't tweet anything the whole day. You don't go back. He tweets, "You can't take our country and you can't take our game."
Look at this guy.
Yeah, I mean it
We
really
need
That
to
sums
that's
up.
reelect him.
Really,
that's the best tweet he's ever done.
I mean, it really sums up the feeling of I think how everyone, at least on our side of the border, was feeling going into this
Yep.
game, and I'm sure there are hundreds, if not thousands, of similar tweets, definitely feelings across the country in terms of feeling that national pride and not wanting to back down, and those guys in the jerseys really went out and did their job so that they could stand up for us, right?
Yep.
It
100%.
would it's funny because obviously the Olympics next year is where everybody's already circling their calendars. I'm sure Team USA is circling them more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But even though this tournament is the first of its kind and it's an NHL sanctioned event, and realistically, if you take a step back, like it doesn't really mean anything. But the way that there was so much that was like manufactured around this event, the group chats, the politics, the fans, like it
Yeah.
was all such perfect timing that like it I would be if we were doing this podcast with USA scoring the winner, like it would be obvious. I mean, obviously it's 100% different, but like it would have stung for the
Oh,
entire year.
yeah.
And it'd be
They get
hard to
to
come
hold
back.
they get to hold that over you for the
Man, oh
entire year.
man.
And you know what?
So
I like leading up to this, I was like very, very nervous because like you look at the USA roster and that thing is complete head to toe. There isn't a weakness there. But the overall top end talent of Canada came through again, and that's the one hope I had. And then when in overtime, Jordan Binnington has to make a save, like I said, he has no business making on a shot that 9 times out of 10 goes into the net on every single NHL goalie. Like that's a save that every single NHL goalie does not make 9 times out of 10. And he's able to stop Captain America. It was just a special moment. Like, and then 97, man. Like the moment, like, I didn't know if he's gonna score or not, obviously. But like the moment I saw like the play kind of develop and McDavid gets kind of loose and you're like screaming like in your head, pass, pass. Like you see him there, you know it's there, like, and like he's just there all alone. It's like this is meant to be. Like this is his moment. I don't know. Like there it was fairy tale story ending.
oh yeah.
No, absolutely. Him and McKinnon to start the game. It was perfect bookends
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It was just a great to see the top talent play out. And that includes if you guys want to do the Leaf stuff. That includes Mitch Marner, right? Like
Mitch Marner was
he played
great tonight.
fantastic.
He was honestly probably the best game I think I've watched Mitch Marner play in a long time. Like he was all over the ice tonight. And it wasn't just like going after pucks in the offensive zone. There was once in overtime where I was like he looked back and it was Matthews coming after him in overtime and I was like get on your high horse Marner because like he's coming and Marner didn't look like he was actually going that hard, but that's the only time that I saw Marner tonight not look like he was giving it 100%. And I'm sure at that point like you're bagged, like you're obviously tired in that situation, but Mitch Marner played a hell of a game, man. A hell of a game.
It's what you expect out of Mitch Marner. Like he's defensively sound, and you saw some of the points of that tonight. But ultimately, it's what Leafs fans, and I know we don't have to go the Leafs direction like too much, but it's what those fans have been clamoring for so long in these high intensity games. Where is Mitch Marner? You saw some incredible passes from him tonight that ended up leading to goals. And
Yeah.
yes, ultimately at the end of the day, the passes are only really remembered if they lead into goals. And both of the passes he made and both the goals that were scored as a result of those passes were incredible and
Yeah.
were meaningful. But he did make those plays when it counted. I am curious though, boys. We don't have to do maybe US if we don't have enough time, but maybe we'll stick with Canada for now. Who's a player that impressed you this tournament in Canada, and who's a player that you think you expected more from that maybe didn't live up to expectations?
Um, I mean, I'll start with I probably have two players, and that for people who I became fans of, that being Sam Bennett and that being
Mm,
Brandon Hagel. Um, Both guys I thought were decent to good. Sam Bennett has progressed a lot over the last 2 years in Florida compared to where he was in Calgary. He was kind of considered as a bust as the fourth overall pick for a lot of years in Calgary, just because, as a fourth overall pick, you're expected to produce. And then he finally figures out a role underneath Paul Maurice in Florida, and he knows how to execute that role. Man, he was terrific throughout the whole game. And like this whole tournament that he was in, and then tonight, like he took it up a notch tonight. And like he was dynamic every time he touched the ice. And then Brandon Hagel, man, like the guy puts up like a crap ton of points in the NHL. Like I don't think people
hmm
realize that. And then like he deserved to be on this team 100%. Just the the absolute fight in him, like it was really remarkable to watch. My personal opinion. And then someone who kind of like let me down, but like it's so hard to say that someone let you down in this tournament when they win. I mean, the first guy that comes to my mind is Travis Sanheim. I don't know, like it felt like, you know what, like every time I was on when he was on the ice, I was nervous that they were gonna, or he was gonna make a
mm,
mistake.
mm.
Yeah, that's
Fair.
fair. I mean, I think he was kind of more on the periphery of the roster when
Yeah,
things were kind of coming out. So I'm not totally surprised by that. I love the Hagel take. I think everyone kind of fell in love with him when those quotes came out about what he was talking
yeah,
about the flag and why he decided to fight. So I think that was fantastic. And he played great. I'm sure more people weren't as familiar with him, but I think he really showed what he's about. He plays hard and he does all the things that you want a guy,
yeah,
especially in that role, to do. So Anthony Cirelli, the same thing. He was just steady, right? That's all you kind of ask for those guys.
yeah.
For me, the
Hmm.
guy that stuck out was actually Colton Parayko. I
Oh,
thought he played
I like that. I like
fantastic.
that take.
yeah,
I thought coming in while he's not really been much of a
yeah.
talking point. I thought he would be a kind of a guy that might, allow some more quicker plays from some of the more so I thought maybe the European teams, but especially the Americans have a ton of talent too. But he was big, strong. His stick was everywhere. Like he was one of those guys that I think really kept opposing teams in check and really
Uh-huh.
helped out Binnington in terms of clearing out the front of the net, making sure that he could see pucks. And he obviously with Makar in and out of the lineup had to fill a bigger role. So he really surprised me and played excellent. And then a guy who's disappointed, I think we would all say, is Sam Reinhart. You know, he was 50 goal
Yeah.
scorer, and for him really to not be much of an offensive point
Yeah,
at
he
all,
wasn't. Yeah,
it was sort of disappointing. You know, I wouldn't say I would necessarily put him at the in the top echelon of elite players in the NHL. I think he's a great goal scorer, but I think
yeah,
his kind of weaknesses were exposed a little bit against some of the best players. But you know, who's that's not to say he can't go back to Florida and with that chemistry that that team has, you know, get
yeah.
back to his form.
I,
So it was
also,
just a short. Yeah,
for a goal scorer, short tournament, like you gotta get hot at the right
exactly.
time.
100%. It was just kind of he never looked too comfortable. Like he
I
never
agree.
really, but he also
Yeah,
never really had the puck in a too much of a glorious spot
yeah,
or anything like that. So I wouldn't say that he necessarily played terribly. I was just disappointed with the way that the tournament ended up for him.
yeah. I
Yeah,
would
I
100% agree with that. I
couldn't
I
agree
do
more.
I do think we're forgetting one guy. Um, and it's the replacement, Thomas Harley, man.
He
That
played great
kid,
tonight too.
that
Again,
kid
yeah.
made himself a name in the NHL. Like this is a breaking out tournament for him. No one thought he could step in, do what he did, and he absolutely locked it down on the back end. Like
No, he was great.
Yeah.
there was not a there wasn't a second where it was like, wait, we have Thomas Harley in the game? Like we don't have Josh Morrissey? No, he was fantastic tonight, and he was fantastic on last Saturday. He was definitely not the reason they lost to the U.S. last Saturday. But yeah,
Couldn't agree more. I think just to round it out, player I think played better than expectations was weirdly Jordan Binnington. I think we had you probably before this game let a lot of bad. He let like one bad goal in a game, and then this game he sort of locked it down when it really mattered. So in terms of clutch play and clutch goaltending, based on like I said, the discourse and the conversation going in, I think he really obviously led Canada to victory in a lot of different ways. And Brandon, I'm sticking with you. Sam Reinhart, 4 assists in this tournament. Surprisingly, I did some research when you were saying, but I'm with you. Like you're a goal scorer, you're on the first power play unit. No goals in this is a little
yeah.
surprising after the past year and a half that he's had. Look, at the end of the day, I all agree with you guys. Canada won. There's no need to stay down on it, but it is worth having a conversation and seeing how this leads into the remainder of the
J-
NHL season.
just be irrational with me for 1 minute here as we wrap this up. This special episode, boys. This is our game. This is our game. Just you got to tell me this one time.
I mean, it was never in doubt, right? Like you go back and watch our last pod episode last week. I think I was on there saying this would be the exact result. You know,
Yeah,
Canada would come through and pull it out regardless of what happens in a round robin when the chips are on the board. It's always Canada, right?
Yep,
you love it. You
you
love
gotta
it.
love
Look,
it.
yeah, Canada's game, good game for the US, good tournament all around for the NHL, and really for any NHL hockey fans and any fans that are looking to get into the game. It worked out in every single capacity. So shout out to hockey and sports, and just it's good feelings all around, especially being a Canadian. So thank you all for
The
listening to
golden goal.
the golden goal and new golden
X2.
goal from Sidney Crosby to Ontario and Connor McDavid. We're going to keep the good times rolling. We will send this out. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. We'll have more like this. We'll get back to you next Friday. But otherwise, thank you. Go Canada. Have a great rest of your week, and we will catch up with you guys next time.
Let's go. It's our sport.